Women's Advanced Nogi Absolute Division. This was my first match of the day. The Absolute Division for New Breed is ADCC rules, so there are no points in the first half of the match, but there are points in the second half of the match. We slap and bump, and I'm immediately looking for my 2-on-1 grips to try to wrestle for a takedown. I'm able to secure a pretty deep underhook and am looking to start to use that to set up my takedown. And just as I'm starting to reach for a single leg, my opponent decides to pull guard. My opponent is starting to set up a De La Riva style guard, and I believe is trying to use it to take my back. I don't know a ton about De La Riva, and so I initially tried to kind of pressure up to start to look for my pass, but since it's no points, I decided to get in on the leg and sit back for my ashy positioning. I'm initially trying to get in on my straight ankle lock position, but my opponent does a good job of getting to her feet, so I am looking to try to underhook and off balance her back down to the ground, and then I'm able to start to switch in on a pretty good bite on a knee bar, but she does a really good job rolling and defending to prevent me from getting that knee bar. We land in a 50-50 position, and I start looking for my heel exposure to start to hunt for my heel hook. She is kind of coming up to stack me and then using her feet to try to push me away to prevent me from getting that bite on the heel. 50-50 is not my favorite leg locking position, so I'm starting to look to try to switch her foot over to the other side and into a different position, but she's able to get her legs locked back together. I start to look for a toe hold on her free foot, not necessarily because there's a really great toe holding opportunity from there. You can get a toe hold from there, but it can be kind of just enough to scare people to get them to move out of the position. We've started to get pretty far off of the center of the mat and into the other mats, so the ref stops us and makes us take a look at the position and then resets us back in the middle so that we have a little bit more space. We reset back in that 50-50 position, and then the ref takes a look at the position, makes sure that everything is exactly the way that it was. This ref did a really good job, by the way. And we start the match back. I am immediately starting to come up to try to get to a little bit better positioning. She's doing a good job of trying to pressure me back down. I'm still hunting for my heel exposure, trying to see if I can get a bite on that heel hook or if I can start to switch the legs into a different position. Again, 50-50 is not my favorite leg locking position. I don't mind it, but it's not my favorite. Still looking for that heel exposure, but again, she's doing a good job of defending. I'm able to start to pull her leg to my opposite hip and switch my feet into the inside space for more of the saddle position, which is a position that I much prefer over 50-50. I'm once again looking for my heel exposure, and she is starting to roll to try to escape that heel hook. And as we roll, we wind up back more into a 50-50 type position. She is trying to come up and stack me, and I am trying to pressure her back down to the mat. Sorry for the wonky camera work there. I think the camera got bumped a little bit. But anyway, I start to come up and I'm looking to try to untangle her legs and maybe go into a top position, but she has a pretty good lock on that 50-50 position. So I decide to fall back in on the leg and see if I can start to collect my heel exposure from this 50-50 position or switch it back to a better leg locking position. Here you can start to see I'm locking up my bite on the heel. She's trying to stay pressured in and use her feet to defend to prevent me from rotating her heel and getting that heel hook. I'm not able to get the rotation that I would like, so I pass her foot over to the other side and wind up in DOA, where I start to wrap up on the ankle and am able to get my ankle lock finish and get the tap from the ankle lock. This was a super fun match. I had a really good time exchanging leg locks and getting into a leg lock battle with my opponent, and she was super nice afterward, and yeah, on to the next match. Alright, match number 2. My opponent and I slap and bump, and I'm looking to tie up with her and start to look for my takedowns. I start to get a pretty deep underhook, but she overhooks my underhook and jumps to guard and is starting to try to look for a mirror lock from here. My understanding with the mirror lock is that you kind of have to have the right depth of underhook in order to finish it. And I think I was a little bit too deep on the underhook when she fell back for it. And so I didn't really feel like I was in a ton of danger from the mirror lock from here. I more felt like I was in danger of trying to pull my arm out of the underhook position and getting caught in something else while I was trying to escape. But she definitely has my right arm locked down pretty good. So I'm just trying to get my arm free without getting caught in a different submission. She is trying to use her legs and her arms to keep my posture broken down and prevent me from getting up, whereas I am trying to posture up and try to get my right arm free without extending it too much and providing an opportunity for her to try to submit me. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but I am starting to get my arm free and starting to escape this kind of overhook position. And from here, I'm able to start to hand fight and start to look for my postured position, looking for my pin, and start to stand up to try to open up her closed guard. I start to try to wedge my right knee behind her hips and try to force it through the middle of her legs to try to create some space, but she's doing a really good job of staying tight and not letting me get to my position, and she's able to hand fight and escape her arms from my pin. My opponent is working to keep my posture broken down so that she can start to work for her sweeps and submissions, whereas I am looking to stay squared up with her hips and start to hand fight to a good pin and start to stand and separate her feet. Here I'm trying to go for my bicep control once again so that I can start to stand and try to separate her legs. She is doing a good job of trying to hand fight and clear those pins and start to pull me back down to look for those sweeps and submissions. I'm going back to my bicep control pins. She's trying to hand fight back out of it. She opens up her guard to start for hunt for submissions, and I use this as an opportunity to stand up and start to look for my pass. I'm controlling her feet and start to try to go for like a double under smash pass here. I really wish I had done a better job of controlling her hips while I was doing this because I have a pretty decent double under smash pass. I've hit it in other tournaments, but she was just very bendy and doing a good job of getting her hips back down to the floor. But I really think that if I had pushed this a little bit harder, I could have gotten it, but I just kind of gave up on it a little bit too early. I go back to my standing position and am trying to control feet to try to look for my pass. I'm able to start to kind of staple one leg to the ground with my knee here and start trying to work past her knee shield guard. I'm trying to keep heavy pressure on her hips and legs while also using my right arm to underhook her arm and start to try to come around and pass. But she's doing a really good job of keeping that knee shield in and is able to scramble back to her open guard. I am controlling feet and looking for my open guard pass once again. As I'm looking for my pass, she's able to pull me back down into her closed guard and is able to start to look for her sweeps and submissions from the closed guard once again. I go back to hand fighting and looking for my pin, trying to pin arms so that I can start to stand and separate her legs to get to my closed guard break and pass. But I get a little bit too wide with my elbows and she's able to shoot one of her legs through and start to set up a pyramid guard like she's going for a triangle. And while I was thinking about defending the triangle, she was able to throw up an armbar and get the tap. I was a little annoyed at myself. I felt like I had some good passing opportunities in this match that I didn't really capitalize on, and I think my passing has gotten a lot better in the gym, but just hasn't really started to show in competition yet. But that's okay. That's why we practice. That's why we do lots of local competitions so that we can get lots of mat time in. And I was grateful to get to work on my passing with an opponent that had a really good guard. Moving on to match number 3. This is the bronze medal match for the Absolute Division. We shake hands and the ref starts the match, and I'm immediately tying up looking for my hand fighting positions so that I can start to try to set up my takedown. I'm immediately driving her backwards, and the ref stops the match and resets us back in the middle and then restarts the match. I'm going back to my hand fighting, looking for my good positioning. I get a 2-on-1 position, use it to snatch a single leg and go nice and high elevation with it to get her to fall backwards. After securing my takedown, I'm immediately looking to start to pass the guard and get to my top position. I'm able to control and clear legs and start to establish my chest-to-chest connection. Before switching over to my mount position, I start to try to walk her elbows up nice and high and open them up so I can start to hunt for my submissions. Here, I'm starting to look to try to get to a high mount, and she rolls over, and I'm able to take her back off of the roll. She rolls again, and I'm able to continue to secure my back positioning. As she keeps trying to escape my back positioning, I'm able to switch my hips and start to come back up on top into the mount position. I'm once again walking my knees up nice and high and starting to look for my S mount, opening up her elbows so that I can start to set up my armbar. Here I'm able to start to switch to my S mount, and then from here I'm able to collect the arm, bring my leg over the head, and finish my armbar and get the tap. So overall, I placed third in a bracket of about 7 women for the Absolute Division, which was super awesome to see so many advanced women competing at a local tournament. I'm going to make a separate video with my matches from my weight class, so make sure you subscribe for part 2.